What's up, everybody? We are back. DraftKings MMA DFS picks for Vegas 53. UFC best bets, picks, predictions, lineup strategies, FanDuel, DraftKings for Rob Font, Marlon Vera. Another big slate coming to us for UFC. Welcome. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy. Joined by Jake the Snake, owner of MMADFS.com. Jake was out of town last week. He got the week off, but we're back. We're back to business now. Jake, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? Took a hell of a week to take off. Great hit, man. Great hit.
Appreciate it, dude. And yeah, as you see on screen here, had the 100K hit in the throwdown last week. Unique win. Super pumped about that, obviously. Moose and I did the video on kind of going super in depth on my process. This is the third 100K hit I've had since we've been doing these videos here on YouTube. So if you want super in depth information on that, go check that out. Jake, I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. I know you and I talked in DMs a little bit, but as you told me before this video started, it was a Brian Jester special, and that is for sure.
Yeah, man. Pairing up Mike Jackson, Sergey, and Pulis was definitely the Jester special there. I know, we were both really big on Parsons and Richie Long. Those were great plays, along with Tyson Pedro. So kind of the perfect combination of good plays and chaos. And, that's how you win 100K unique. I mean, you can't play all good plays and have a unique 100K winner.
That's true, and you can't play all the bad plays and actually win. You got to mix some of the good plays in as well. So,
Exactly.
so
Really good balance.
yeah, it was a pretty good balance, and obviously had some luck there with Romanov. We'll see if we can run it back this week. Maybe Sherman drops out mid-fight again, and we'll see if we can
Can
run
you
it back to back.
imagine?
No, the internet would actually explode if that happened again. um, yeah, and the accusations would be through the roof if I somehow won back-to-back slates when Romanov if I gets canceled post-live.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to tonight's slate. I think tomorrow is the official date of expiration on how long you're allowed to promote a win of this magnitude. So we'll get it out the way tonight. And instead, let's talk about the fights for Saturday. Rob Font, Marlon Vera. Interesting 5-rounder. Rob Font is a small favorite here, Jake. And the interesting thing is, we were talking about it in Discord today. We haven't seen very many main event fights where one of the fighters misses weight, especially this dramatically. Font checked in 2.5 pounds overweight today. Again, we don't have much data to go on, but we can hypothesize a little bit of what that means for this fight. So talk to me about that and just the general outlook on this fight for DFS.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we saw he missed weight by 2.5 pounds, I messaged you, was like, can you think of the last time a main event fighter missed weight? And, all you could come up with was Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez. And also, that's the last one I could think of. And, Fig still won that fight. So who knows? But in general, we've seen guys struggle after missing weight. I looked back since October. Underdogs are like 1 in 10 who missed weight. Favorites have still gone 2-1. Smaller sample size. Font does check in as the favorite, but I mean, you have to wonder, like, is he dealing with an injury? Like, was it a really bad weight cut? Like, why did he miss weight by so much? I don't think it's a main event. He's not going to just not try to make weight.
Right.
Like, it's not going to be one of those, like, he's trying to pull a fast one. Like, clearly there was a reason why he missed weight. We don't know what it is yet. If people do some digging and they can find out what it is, that could be a potential edge on this slate. All I can think is either bad weight cut or some sort of injury. Neither one of those would be good going into a 25-minute fight. So I think I'm going to dial back my Font ownership or exposure just a tiny bit. I'm still gonna play him and everything, but definitely a slight concern. But I mean, other than that, like before the weight miss, we really liked Font here. I mean, even though he's gone the distance in 5 of his last 6, he's coming off 2 5-round fights, landed a ton of significant strikes in both of those. 149 in his recent loss to Aldo. Still scored 77 DraftKings points in a loss. Before that, he beat Cody Garbrandt in another 5-round decision, 176 significant strikes, scored 114. I mean, this guy pretty much always scores well when he wins, regardless of, if it's in a decision or with a finish. I mean, he's a guy we like, but obviously the weight cut is a little bit of a concern there. I'm sorry, the weight miss.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we don't really know how to play this, but we have seen fighters in this range, this small favorite in the main event range, not perform up to expectations generally. And we've talked about it on stream a little bit here. So interesting fight. And but again, the pricing, Jake. Let's just talk about it from DFS really quickly from a low risk perspective. Easy to stack this fight, and even on FanDuel, you can stack this fight because it should go 5 rounds. We should see lots of volume.
Yeah, definitely. Both these guys are super durable. I'd be surprised to see a finish. If we do see a finish, I think it would probably be Marlon Vera finishing Rob Font. So I'm going to get that underdog. So you still want to stack that. Yeah, I think you stacking low risk on both sides, and pretty good chance at their pricing that the winner of this fight is going to end up in tournament winning lineup. So definitely a fight we're very interested in. I mean, looking at Vera's side, he's kind of a weird guy because of his 12 UFC wins, 10 have come early, but he's only averaged 91 DraftKings points. So he's kind of an anomaly there. You would expect him to be doing better, but he's never landed more than 2 takedowns, doesn't land a ton of striking volume. Often he starts slow and then comes back and lands a second or third round finish. And this is going to be his first 5 round fight of his entire career, so we don't really know what his cardio is going to look like late. But kind of an interesting. I would say it's an interesting fight from a couple of different perspectives. But I am expecting it to go long, so I think both guys will end up with a pretty high floor.
Absolutely. So beyond the main event, 12 fights on the card in total. We do have 3 UFC newcomers, which are spots we always like to take a look at. So let me pull up DraftKings here really quickly. There we go. And let's talk about the 3 fighters, Jake, that are making their first walk into the octagon. We'll start from the highest price to the lowest price. We have Tyra, who is coming in and facing another newcomer in Candelario, who did fight on the Contender Series. But Tyra has not fought in the Japanese promotion, if I'm not mistaken. So talk to me about these 2 fighters and what this matchup looks like.
Yeah, Tyra has spent his entire career, on the regional scene in Japan, mostly fighting at Shuto, where he won the flyweight championship pretty recently. 10-0, 22-year-old guy, still really young. You always kind of wonder about guys that are that young coming into the UFC, like, how they're going to handle the pressure. I mean, he's never even fought outside of Japan before. So, I mean, got all sorts of new stuff going on, making his UFC debut. Pretty patient striker, throws good leg strikes, really aggressive grappler. As soon as he sees an opportunity, he's trying to take your back, take your neck, and choke you out. Last 3 wins have all come by first round submission. He's only been past the second round once in his career, so we don't really know what his cardio is going to look like. That one fight was, slower pace, not a lot going on. In more of a high paced brawl, I mean, you have to wonder, like, is he going to gas out? Like, the guy's used to getting quick finishes. So, I mean, that's one concern with him, but he looks like a pretty dangerous submission threat.
And then his opponent, Candelario, who questionably lost his decision on the Contender Series. He is getting his debut this week. So Candelario, again, the thing about it is Tyra coming from not necessarily a scene that we're excited to play fighters from, right? It's not like we're fighting, he's coming from Russia or another international scene. Japanese fighters, we're not super thrilled generally to play, and we don't see a ton of them anyways making their UFC debut. So I think a lot of variance in this fight against a guy who has a lot of experience in Candelario. But give me your scouting report on him.
Yeah, so he's actually been on the Contender Series twice. He originally went on back in 2017, and he won kind of a slower paced decision against a grappler. Unfortunately, tore his ACL in that fight. Didn't fight again for 4 years after that. I think he briefly retired. He was kind of coaching during that time, so it's not like he was away from the sport, but wasn't competing at all. Finally came back in 2021, fought twice in the span of like 3.5 weeks. Both those fights went the distance. The second one, he won a decision in the first one. At that point, he's undefeated in his career. And then he goes on the Contender Series, like, on short notice, on a couple weeks' notice, takes on Victor Altamirano. And yeah, it looked like he won the first 2 rounds, but gasses out kind of, I would say, late second round, definitely in the third round, and just doesn't do anything in the third round. Goes on to lose a split decision. I mean, that's not the look you want. Even if you think you're up 2, you can't just, like, do nothing in the third round. So apparently most of the judges weren't pretty happy with that. So interestingly, Dana White gave both those guys a contract immediately after the fight. It's not like they sent him back to the regional scene. He was just like, you know what, I'm taking both you guys. I don't care if you lost. He took it on short notice. So, I mean, the rare loser on Contender Series gets a contract without having to, go back in the regional scene and then work his way, back again. So kind of interesting coming off his first career loss in a split decision. Last three fights have all gone the distance. Hasn't finished anyone since 2017. But if you look at how he started his career, five of his first six wins came early. I think he had like four first round finishes, one early in round two. So I would say similar to his opponent here. His finishes come really early in fights. Kind of looks like he fades late, which sort of makes you wonder about this matchup about both guys' cardio. Like we could, if we don't see an early finish, we could see both guys fade down the stretch. We don't really know on Tyra, but it's more of a speculation. But back to Candelario, he was a former Golden Gloves champion, so pretty good boxer. I would say he has less in terms of grappling, but at the same time, he shot for like 16 takedowns in his last fight. So
Yeah.
he's definitely willing to go for takedowns, but he doesn't look especially dangerous on the mat. But from a DFS perspective, just the fact that he shot for that many is encouraging. But now he's going against a really good grappler. So, man, I can't imagine he's just going to be spamming takedowns the whole time. I think he's going to want to keep the fight standing, outbox his way to victory here, potentially try to take advantage. I mean, he's only 8-1. He's 8 years older, but he actually has one less fight than Tyra. Tyra didn't even turn pro until 2018, a year after Candelario tore his ACL in his first trip on the Contender Series. So I don't know. We'll see how this one goes. I think, we have the age experience on one side, but in terms of professional fights, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, it's the fight I'm probably most interested in seeing how it plays out because there is such a wide range of outcomes. And the other fight that we're looking at, and this is a fight, a little preview here that we're looking to target just in general for DFS, is the Gabe Green Lanus fight. Lanus making his debut undefeated. I know you have a lot of takes about him, but give me the breakdown on his fighting style, what we can expect this fight to look like.
Yeah, so he's coming in 8-0, six knockouts, two decisions. He's another guy that all of his finishes come in the first round and a half. Has really questionable cardio later in fights. Just a complete wild brawler. He's trying to murder people with every punch he throws. Not a really technical fighter by any means. So, I mean, I think, going against more of a vet and Gabe Green, I think it's kind of a tough spot for Linus, whereas the other two debuters are going against each other. But I mean, the guy's super, super violent. I mean, he has power in both hands. So, I mean, he's dangerous. He's one of those just kind of raw, dangerous power punchers who's trying to finish you in the first round and a half. And if he doesn't, he's going to gas out. But I mean, take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a Jordan Wright-esque type fighter, right? We don't know. We've never seen him get knocked out like Jordan Wright, but it deserves to be worthy of tons of underdog exposure just because he can put up a 100-plus point score pretty quickly. So, all right, speaking of that
Yeah.
fight to target, let's talk about you have a bunch of fights in the daily plug at OccupyFantasy.com, Jake, which you write every single week. Let's go to the top here. And you do have a couple fights that you want to target. Let's not give them all away. Give me one more fight that you're looking at. And might as well talk about the cover girl of the plug, I guess. Fights that we should target for DFS that whoever wins will probably score well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, let's cut to the chase here. Obviously, Gina Mazzani, Shanna Young is the fight that everyone wants to play. I mean, people see this card, and that's the one fight that stands out is like, that's the one we're here for.
Right.
So, that is 100% the fight that I'm the most excited about targeting. Most people probably would not feel the same way, but you look at Gina Mazzani's fights, and she hasn't been to the judges in her last five. Shanna Young, I believe, four of her last six have also ended early. Super low level fight. Two women, basically trying to fight for their jobs more or less. I mean, Mazzani is like 2-5 in the UFC. Young's 0-2. I mean, it's kind of a grappler versus striker matchup. So I think if Mazzani can get her down, she has the potential to score like 120 DraftKings points just on the ground. And if she can't get her down, I mean, who knows? Shanna Young hasn't been a great finisher on the feet, but Gina Mazzani basically gasses out after two rounds. And, Shanna Young has a karate background. We've seen Mazzani get finished on the feet at multiple points. So, I mean, definitely a fight you want to have exposure to both sides. I definitely prefer the Mazzani side just based on her grappling. I think Young is completely helpless on her back, as we saw against Stephanie Egger in her last fight. I mean, other than going for that heel hook submission, I mean, she had no answer on the ground. So think she's a one-dimensional striker, and she's not a great striker. So definitely a fight we're looking to target.
Not a great on the ground, also not a good striker, but we can't wait to play her in DFS. But honestly, she's gonna be super low owned. So those are the types of, and again, against a fighter that gasses out and has been finished and gives up huge scores. I mean, those are the fights that win you tournaments. So I'm looking forward to it. Jake, we'll get out of here. Final two segments of this show. Maybe one or two prize picks that you're looking at, and then we'll give our stream parlay of the week to give a little betting action to the folks out there watching. If you see the promo code here, use code OCCUPY at Prize Picks. Links in the description below. Use our link. Get a 100% deposit match bonus. Tons of juicy lines for UFC props and other sports as well. So combine those props, get a bunch of prop parlays going. And Jake, again, we talked about it a couple episodes ago, the FanDuel scoring that they have going on, or the old FanDuel scoring. But give me maybe one, maybe two picks you're looking at for Prize Picks this week.
Yeah, so I really like the De Silva under 14.75 minutes. I mean, it's basically will the fight go the distance or not, more or less. De Silva's all of his fights end early, so like it's hard not to like that one. Just based on you look at his record, basically almost all of his fights end in the first round. He's only even been to the second round twice, so that's definitely one that I like. And then the matchup we just talked about, Mazzani's over is on 79.5. I think that she's going to hit that if she wins, and she's the favorite. So I think that's a pretty good line.
And honestly, dude, she could hit 79 and still get finished, right? Like
Right,
late round
right,
two,
right.
or score 79 the first 7 minutes and then gets finished, right? So definitely possible.
Totally.
All right. All right. So stream parlay of the week. Remember, Jake puts all of his best bets in the daily plug. He also has a bunch of premium bets at MMADFS.com. So make sure you go check those out if you're in a legal sports betting state. And you can use our links on OccupyFantasy.com, the sports betting link in the main menu. Get deposit bonuses at legal sportsbook we partner with in your state, so go check that out. Free money's always great, especially when you can use it to bet with. So Jake, stream parlay, a couple options floating through my head, and I think I'm going to play the weight cut narrative and going to play the underdog, Marlon Vera. I'm not sure he wins a decision here, but the line is pretty close on the money line, so I'll go Vera inside the distance plus 300 for my leg of the parlay.
Yeah, I like that bet. I mean, you look at the implied odds. He's got like a 45% chance to win. If he wins, I mean, I would say it almost definitely comes inside the distance. So plus 300, I really like that line. And then I'm gonna stick with Mazzani, which probably a bad sign that we've been talking about her this much. Like, definitely gonna bust somehow now. But I'm gonna go with that fight does not go the distance at plus 145, which it's a really good line. I think. I mean, most places you can't get it that wide. So
Yeah, where is that line again?
That's at Caesars. A lot of other places have that line way worse. So that's a Caesars specific parlay.
There you go. Caesars specific parlay. And again, Caesars is one of our partner sportsbooks, and they have fantastic deposit bonuses, tons of free bet offers every single week. So definitely sign up with them. So Jake, what's that parlay pay us?
That should be plus 880.
All right, we'll win this, and then we'll do an even riskier one next week to make up for the lack of a video last week. So let's get this one on the books, and then we'll look forward to the future. So that'll do it for this video. Remember, Jake works at MMADFS.com. Fighter write-ups every single week, betting and DFS implications. His archive is fantastic. Talked about it in the Wednesday show when I was reviewing my 100K win, how integral it is to my research process. So go check it out, MMADFS.com. He also writes the daily plug at OccupyFantasy.com. Condenses everything into top plays, favorite bets, lineup strategies, lineup construction tips, everything you need to dominate a slate. Our Occupy model, we haven't shown it on screen yet, but it ranks every fighter at FanDuel, DraftKings. We talked about it in the Wednesday show as well, how much goes into it. Fantastic resource, along with our lineup builder that now allows you to build up to 300 lineups for whatever types of contests you're entering using our optimal lineup criteria. I mean, what else can you ask for, right? So for Jake, follow him on Twitter at DFS_MMA. You can follow me on Twitter at BrianJesterFF. Appreciate you listening, and good luck this week in the fights.